Hey guys, welcome back. This is the part 3 of What If Naruto Had the Jougan. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well, it really means a lot. So let's start the what if. Hey, you all should quiet down, said a silver-haired Konoha genin. You all are the 9 recently graduated rookies, right? You all need to get it into your heads that this isn't just a simple field trip. And exactly who are you to be telling us anything, demanded Ino. I am Yakushi Kabuto, he introduced himself. You're the guy who trains Haku at the hospital, said Naruto. Sasuke and Sakura looked surprised, while the others looked confused. Ah, he a friend of yours? Asked Kabuto. He has plenty of talent for medical jutsu. Especially without any formal training. We met him on a mission, Naruto explained to the others. Anyways. Kabuto continued from where Naruto interrupted him. Look around. The ones behind you are from AIM and they have short tempers. Everyone here is very tense because it's right before the exam. I'm just warning you so you don't get picked on. Though, I suppose it can't be helped with you all being rookies and all. It makes me remember the old me. Kabuto-san, right? Asked Sakura. Yes. Answered Kabuto. Is this your second time, then? Asked Sakura. No, replied Kabuto, it's my 7th. The exam takes place only twice a year and this is my 4th year. So that means you know quite a lot about the exam, right? She asked. Yes, he answered. So that means you're practically an expert, said Naruto. But, he hasn't passed it, Shikamaru added, to which Kabuto looked sheepish. Very true, Kabuto said. Ah. Is the Chunin exam that difficult? This is getting even more troublesome. Shikamaru complained. Then perhaps you'd like some information then? Asked Kabuto as he pulled out a small deck of cards. These are ninja info cards. Ninja info cards? Asked Sakura. Put simply, I can burn information onto these cards using only my chakra. As he said this, he kneeled and placed the deck on the floor. With them, I've managed to gather data on this exam for the last 4 years. I have around 200 cards. He flipped over the top card and they noticed it looked blank. It may look blank, but there is plenty of information stored in these cards. He then started twirling the card underneath his fingers. What are you doing? Asked Ino. I've made them so the information can't be viewed without my chakra, like this. He explained as he made a one-handed seal and there was a small puff of smoke where the card had been. When it cleared, the rookies noticed that the card was no longer blank. Kabuto then gave a brief explanation of the purpose and politics of the Chunin exams. So, are there any cards with any detailed personal information on them? Asked Sasuke intrigued. Well, yes. Said Kabuto. Is there anyone that interests you? Yeah, how about Haku and Uchiha Sasuke? Asked Kiba. After all, that Haku guy had be strong if Kabuto spoke highly of him. Naruto said they had met on a mission, meaning Sasuke and Sakura also had to have been there as well. It was the perfect time to get some good information on the only member of Team 7 that was worth Kiba's time. After all, Haruno was a weak Sasuke fangirl and Naruto was the dope of their class. No matter how far he had come, Kiba would still be far better than him. Sorry, but I don't have any information on Haku. I only have information on prospective Chunin, and Haku was made one about a week after he came to the village, explained Kabuto. Sasuke smirked at Kiba, who looked frustrated at only getting half the information he wanted. While you're at it, do you have any info on Rock Lee, Sabaka no Gaara, and Uzumaki Naruto? Said Sasuke. Even Naruto looked perplexed at this. What gives team? We're on the same team, he asked Sasuke. Since we're already going to be looking at my stats, we might as well see how well you compare to me, said Sasuke with a smirk. After all, names and bloodlines aren't everything. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. Like he can really compare to you, Sasuke-kun, said Ino. You were the rookie of the year and he's just a dead last loser. Don't underestimate Naruto, said a scowling Sakura. Ino had to pinch herself to make sure it wasn't a hallucination. Ever since the academy, Sakura had always been one of the first to put down Naruto, especially since he was Sasuke's self-proclaimed rival. Kabuto watched with great interest as it seemed Team 7 had grown and changed the most since the three teams had interacted with one another, judging by the looks the rookies had on their faces. He's a lot stronger than anyone gives him credit for. Naruto gave Sakura a small smile. Thanks, Sakura-chan. What had changed Team 7 so completely that Naruto and Sasuke had a serious rivalry and caused Sakura to defend Naruto? Also, Naruto wasn't bouncing across the room because of the small compliment Sakura had given him. They were not the same three that were nearly at each other's throats right after graduation. These were some of the thoughts that ran through everyone's minds. Hinata frowned, as it seemed someone else had managed to see just how strong her Naruto-kun was. She was happy to see that someone else was finally giving him the acknowledgement he always craved, but she remembered Naruto's crush on Sakura. She knew that if Sakura ever returned those feelings, she wouldn't stand a chance. Then again, Naruto's crush seemed to be tempered a bit, so maybe, just maybe, there was still time. It's rare to see a newly formed team on such a level as yours, complimented Kabuto. Only the Sannin shared a bond that strong so early in their careers. Naruto grinned, Sakura blushed, and even Sasuke smirked at the compliment. Now then, just remember that the information on the participants of the exam may not be perfect. Nevertheless, I've burned and saved them all. Though it's unfortunate you know their names, it kind of takes the fun out of it. Here we go. After sifting through the cards, he pulled out 4 of them. Let's see. First up, Rock Lee. He held up the card which had the picture of the kid dressed in the green leotard, bowl haircut and bushy eyebrows. He's only a year older than you all, but this is also his first exam. 20 dranked missions, 11 cranked. His teammates are Hyuga Niji and Tenten, and their sensei is Mato Gai. His taijutsu has increased very dramatically over the past year, though his other skills are abysmal. Kabuto then took a second card, placing it over Rock Lee's, and channeled his chakra into it. This time it showed a red-haired boy with black rings around his eyes and a gourd strapped to his back. Next up, Sabaku no Gaara. Mission experience, 8 cranked missions, and wow. A branked mission as a genin. He's a foreign nin and this is also his first exam, so that's all the information I have on him. That's less than what we know already, thought Naruto. I wonder what he has on me. Oh wait. It seems he's come back from every mission completely unscathed. Kabuto informed him. He did a branked mission and came back unharmed? Asked Shikamaru astonished. But how? Even with... Naruto stopped his sentence, but Sakura and Sasuke knew what he was going to say. Naruto had the power of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most powerful demon in existence, at his disposal, and even he had been injured quite a few times if he was honest with himself. Well, now. Since you two wanted to compare, let's view the next 2 at the same time, said Kabuto. The remaining 2 cards were soon showing the pictures of a brooding Uchiha Sasuke and a grinning Uzumaki Naruto. Impressive for a genin, said Kabuto looking at Sasuke's card. Uchiha Sasuke, prodigy of the Uchiha clan and one of 3 Sharingan users left. Kabuto said. Only Naruto wasn't confused by this information, as Sasuke had told him back in Wave that the man he needed to kill, was his own brother. Teammates are Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto, and your sensei is the copycat nin, Hatake Kakashi. 8 drank missions, and well now. 1 a rank mission. Not even Sabaku no Gaara has one of those under his belt. The other genin looked impressed. Your chakra levels are above the average genins, and even some chunins, and you can perform a cranked katan jutsu. You're also one of the most skilled rookies ever to come out of the academy. Looking at Naruto's card, his eyes widened. Interesting, he said as he showed the others. 8 dranked missions, 1 brank, and 1 a rank. You certainly have been busy. Kabuto said, impressed. No known family, says here you entered the academy 3 years early, but failed the final exam 3 times. Couldn't produce a single bunshin, but has mastered the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique, a rank kinjutsu reserved only for jonin with high chakra levels. Both teams 8 and 10 were more than a little amazed at the info of Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke's wasn't very surprising, though knowing your opponent has mid-chunin level chakra and hearing about it were 2 different things entirely. Naruto's, however, was astonishing as he had even more chakra than Sasuke and knew a jonin level forbidden jutsu. Added to the fact, he had completed 1 more mission, a ranked one, than his teammates had. With both Sasuke and Naruto having that much power and skill between them, and the camaraderie between the 2 of them and Sakura made them one of the most formidable teams in the exam. Naruto was relieved to hear that Kabuto had no information on him having the Jagan or his Gukatan jutsus, as he didn't want to reveal them yet. "Hey, Dobe, what's with the extra ranked mission?" asked Sasuke. Naruto cringed as he had not told either Sasuke or Sakura about the exact details of his graduation. "Well, you see," Naruto began scratching the back of his head. "I was feeling kind of down about not passing the exam, when Mizuki-sensei offered me to let me take a second exam. All I had to do was sneak past some guards and get this scroll and learn a technique from it. Naruto explained, which I did, but I was found by Iruka-sensei first. Well, it turns out Mizuki was really trying to steal the scroll. Iruka-sensei got hurt fighting Mizuki, so I saved him using the technique from the scroll." "Kage Bunshin," Kabuto said, "so you managed to not only steal the forbidden scroll of seals from the Hokage Tower, but learned Kage Bunshin in less than a day, while managing to defeat a Chunin Academy instructor. If you were the dead last of your class, then the rest of you must be incredibly impressive." The other rookies, even Sasuke and Sakura, were gaping at Naruto. Anyways, Kabuto continued on as the others began to get over their shock. "Konoha, Suna, Aim, Kusa, Taki and Oto, these are the villages who have sent many talented ninjas here for this exam. Oto is a village of a small country that has just recently come to power, so there isn't much information on them. Either way, there are a lot of powerful ninjas from a lot of different places. I'm starting to lose confidence," mumbled Hinata to herself. Naruto, however, heard her. "So, in other words, the examinees here are all incredibly skilled and strong," observed Sakura. "Yes, it's not just Lee and Gaara or Naruto and Sasuke. All the people here are top elites from their respective countries. It isn't going to be easy." Meanwhile, Kakashi was thinking about his students who had just entered the room with the rest of the examinees for the Chunin selection exams. Despite what he had told Iruka and Iruka's admission that he might have been wrong about his former students, Kakashi himself couldn't help but be worried about them. "Despite what I said about them, those fearless kids have to be pretty scared right now." Sakura observed the other genins seemed to be affected by Kabuto's words. They all seemed to lose confidence in themselves. Even Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke showed no outward appearance of being the slightest bit apprehensive, but Sakura could read it in his eyes. Naruto, on the other hand, seemed to be shaking a bit. Even Naruto, the stubborn baka, is a bit nervous with all these people and the tense atmosphere. That fact alone made her start second-guessing herself, as Naruto hadn't shown any fear in any situation ever since he made the vow of pain after the fight with the demon brothers. Not even Zabuza could make Naruto back down. Though I suppose it's not too surprising, after all, even if all of us are genins, we're still just rookies. She was about to try and raise Naruto's spirits when Naruto became a burst of energy and confidence. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konoha, and I will not lose to any of you," he shouted at the entire room. "Got that?" Kakashi, who was still leaning next to the door, smiled and chuckled to himself. "Perhaps I needn't worry so much after all." "What is with him?" Ino asked Sakura, pointing to Naruto. "What's the point in provoking everyone?" "Don't ask me," exclaimed Sakura. "Well, who else am I supposed to ask?" Ino replied. Both kunoichis glared at each other. Only Sasuke and Kabuto seemed to notice exactly what Naruto had done. With a simple statement, Naruto completely broke all tension in the room and the others completely forgot about their fears. Every other genin was glaring at them. "There is no way that guy could be like Gaara, they're almost completely different," whispered Kankuro to Temari. "Perhaps. But looks can be deceiving," she told him. "Maybe he only appears to be an imbecile to hide how strong he truly is." Though, she sounded more like she was trying to convince herself of that fact. Elsewhere, Team Guy was having a similar conversation. "What is he thinking?" Tenten whispered. "He can't be that big of a baka." "He's burning with passion," said Lee to his teammates. "Well, it does appear that he's in good spirits," commented Niji. "Maybe you didn't beat them enough, Lee." However, the Oto team was more than a little annoyed with the rookies and the Konoha genin named Kabuto. "Did you hear what he said?" asked the one-eyed Otonin. "We're just a minor village from a small country. Let's play with them a bit," said the raven-haired female of the team. "Yeah, they spoke of us as if we're just leftover ninja," said the one-eyed Otonin. "Let's make him add this to his data." While the Otonin were putting their plot together, the Konoha rookies were unaware of what was about to happen. "I'm not going to lose to any of you, that's big talk," commented Kiba. "That baka practically begged everyone in this room to be his enemy," said Shikamaru. "Naruto, what the heck are you doing?" asked Sakura as she hit Naruto on the back of the head. Then she noticed the glares everyone was throwing at them. "Sorry everyone. He sometimes gets carried away. No reason to take most of what he says seriously," she said to the room nervously. "With the way everyone is glaring over here, I'm about to beat you up myself," she hissed at Naruto. "Shall we?" asked the spiky-haired Otonin. "Let's go," said the Oto Cyclops. Naruto's Jougan flared for a moment as the Otonins began to move. Only Sakura and Ino noticed it as Naruto's back was to everyone else. His eyes widened as the Otonin were headed straight for them. Kankuro was about to pull the object off of his back when he was stopped by Gaara. The spiky-haired Otonin then proceeded to throw 2 kunai at Kabuto, who easily dodged them. However, he was placed in perfect position for the one-eyed nin's follow-up attack, which was interrupted by a kick to the head from Naruto. Each of the rookies, Minu, Sasuke and Sakura, looked surprised. Naruto had never shown that much skill. "Impressive, Naruto-kun, but I assure you I could have taken care of myself." "Even so, you're a Konohanin, and whether we're against each other or not in this exam, we always take care of our own," Naruto said as he glared at the room, the Otonins in particular. "You only got lucky because you attacked us by surprise," said the spiky-haired nin. "Isn't that exactly what you were trying to do?" asked Sasuke coldly. "Try something again and you'll find that you'll have more than just Naruto to deal with." Meanwhile, Ino and Sakura were having a short conversation. "He knew that attack was coming, didn't he?" asked Ino accusingly. "What do you mean?" asked Sakura nervously. "Don't play dumb, Sakura," Ino hissed. They were moving fast enough that Sasuke-kun didn't have time to react when he saw them and Naruto had his back to them. There is no way even Sasuke-kun could have done that. And that glow. What was up with that? "Two can't tell you," Sakura said nervously. "Whatever it is he's hiding behind that headband of his is responsible for everything, isn't it? The change of wardrobe, his and Sasuke being more friendly to each other, you defending him and him all of a sudden possessing all this skill when he was such a screw-up at the academy, what the hell is going on, Sakura?" Ino demanded. "He didn't even bounce off the walls when you defended him like he would have used to when we were at the academy." "Listen, Ino, Naruto might be an annoying idiot, but he's still my teammate and I will not betray him by telling you anything he doesn't want you to know." Sakura hissed at her friend. "Hokage-sama and Kakashi-sensei already know, and that's all who need to know unless Naruto says otherwise, so if you want to know about it, ask him yourself." "Fine, forehead girl, I'll drop it for now, but I do expect answers," said Ino coldly. "Quiet down, punks," a loud, authoritative voice boomed out. Everyone turned towards the voice, their attention no longer on the Konoha rookies, the Otonin, and Kabuto. Sorry to keep you all waiting, said a man wearing a black bandana with a Konoha Hittite and scars all over his face. He wore the standard gray uniform the other test proctors were wearing, except he was also wearing a black trenchcoat. I am the examiner of the first test of the Chunin selection exams. My name is Marino Ibiki, said the proctor. Now, don't think any of you can just do anything before the exam. Do you want us to fail you at the beginning of the exam? I apologize, I was merely excited with this being my first exam, said the one-eyed Otonin. Well, I suppose now is as good of a time to say this, said Ibiki. You are not allowed to fight each other during the exams unless given express permission by the examiners. Even if permission is given, you will not be allowed to kill each other. Pigs who go against me will fail immediately, is that understood? He did a quick scan of the room to let what he had just said sink in. Then he continued on with the introduction. Now begins the first portion of the Chunin selection examinations. Turn in your applications. Then take one of these numbered tags, that will be your seating placement. After that, we will pass out the examination papers for the written exam. Kyuso. Naruto hissed quietly to himself, a paper test. He clenched his fists tightly as one of the proctors held up a stack of papers and smirked. Rows of Chunin hopefuls filled the room. There were test proctors seated at either end of each row, all holding clipboards and awaiting further instruction. As each of them took their seats, Marino Ibiki scanned the room and smirked evilly at them while directing a very subtle amount of killing intent at them. Naruto couldn't help but admire the man and his intimidation tactics. He certainly knew what he was doing. I'm separated from everyone I know, thought Naruto glumly. He was very depressed at the fact that he had to take a written exam, as it had always been a weak point of his at the academy. He was mildly consoled by the fact Sasuke would have his own troubles with the exam, but Sasuke always got some of the highest scores on the written exams at the academy, so he'd probably do fine here too. Sakura, on the other hand, was more than a bit of a know-it-all. While she may not be as powerful as either him or Sasuke team, her brains more than made up for it. What am I going to do? Several rows behind Naruto, Sakura was watching her blonde teammate on the verge of freaking out. Poor Naruto. This is the worst possible test for him. I wish I knew a way to help him. Naruto-kun, asked a small, timid voice. Naruto turned to be faced with no other than Hyuga Hinata. Oh, hey Hinata, said Naruto, thankful for the momentary distraction. Hinata looked away from him when he looked over at her. There was a slight pink tint on her cheeks. What do you need? He asked kindly. I just wanted to say. Good luck, Naruto-kun, she said with a small smile, turning to face him slightly. Let's do our best. Thanks, Hinata, good luck to you too, he said smiling. I didn't even notice her there, he thought while mentally frowning at his inattention. He really needed to work on mastering the Jagan, as its powers seemed to activate at random. Everyone's attention turned to the front of the room where Marino Ibiki was tapping the chalkboard with a medium-length piece of chalk. This first exam has some very important rules, he began. I will not answer any questions, so listen very carefully. Sakura looked at the man questioningly. Rules? And not answering questions, she thought, trying to puzzle everything out. The first rule, everyone is given 10 points at the start of the exam. The exam only has 10 questions, each worth a single point, he informed them as he wrote on the chalkboard. This test will be based on a points deduction system. If you get one problem wrong, you lose 1 point. If you get 3 wrong, your score is reduced to 7. And if I get all of them wrong, I'm down to 0. Naruto thought grimly. He got a sinking feeling in his stomach. This would not go well for him, he was sure. Second rule, the pass-fail decision will be based on the total amount of points accumulated by your team, Ibiki continued. Kyuso. Naruto thought to himself. Wait. Sakura yelled. What do you mean your team's total points? Shut up. There is a reason for this, so just shut up and listen," demanded Ibiki, loudly, sending a small spike of killing intent at Sakura, making her flinch back instinctively. "Now, let's move on to the next rule." "A reason?" Sakura asked herself. If an examiner feels that you've done something to cheat or something similar during the test, you will be deducted 2 points for each time you are caught doing so, Ibiki told them with a smirk. In other words, there will be people forced to leave without their tests being graded. So there's a way to lose points without the test even being graded. Sakura thought to herself. Those who attempt to cheat without thinking carefully will only hurt themselves, he said. You are all trying to become chunins. If you are a ninja, you must act like a first-rate one. Alright. Calm down, thought Sakura to herself. Putting Naruto aside, both Sasuke-kun and I should do alright. We'll just have to make up for it if Naruto gets a 0. Also, if anyone on the team gets a 0. Your entire team fails, Ibiki said, breaking Sakura out of her thoughts. Sasuke's eyes widened. What? What did you say? Shouted Sakura. Kyuso. Naruto cursed in his head. His hands already clenched tightly into fists. He felt the killing intent radiating off of both Sasuke and Sakura directed at him. Naruto-kun, asked Hinata quietly, a slight blush across her face, as she noticed his slightly alarmed and frustrated expression on his face. The final question will be given 45 minutes after the exam begins, said Ibiki. You have 1 hour for the exam. Begin. Tapping could be heard all around the room as dozens and dozens of prospective chunin began filling out the 9 questions on their exam worksheet. Everyone could be seen working diligently and hard at work save one person who looked as if he'd been told that Ichiraku's ramen stand was closing for business forever. Sakura looked terribly frustrated. This isn't good. Even I can barely answer these questions. Naruto. Don't screw this up. She mentally berated her teammates despite the fact she couldn't hear him. Kyuso. Naruto better not choke now. We've come too far. Thought a frustrated Sasuke who was having his own troubles trying to answer the questions on his test to no avail. He looked at Naruto and frowned at his teammate's frustrated unmoving form. This is not good. I've gotten through plenty of situations like this before, thought Naruto, furiously trying to think of a plan to finish the test. I just need to keep calm and focus on answering the questions. I just have to really focus on the easy ones. Naruto's hands were on his head. He was on the verge of pulling his hair out. He had taken one look at all of the questions on the paper and realized he couldn't answer even a single one of them. His only option was to cheat, and he knew that his only option was using the Jagan, and though he could still see through his headband with it, prolonged use would incinerate it, and even if he only used it sparingly, and the glow from using the Jagan's powers would still be visible through the black headband. Naruto wasn't ready to give up his secret just yet, as the revelation of the Jagan would lead to questions that only he could answer, and all of those answers led to the Kyubi no Kitsune. Sasuke wasn't having much luck either. As he read each question, he realized more and more that it was possible only Sakura could actually answer the majority of the answers on the test, and perhaps the Hyuga, the Aburame, and the Nara kids. This is a question involving gathering information based on indefinite conditions and physical analysis. Sakura thought to herself. She suddenly looked up at her blonde teammate. There is no way Naruto could answer these questions. In fact, I doubt many people here, other than myself, could actually answer these questions. Alright. Next problem. Naruto thought, getting nervous, as he had already skipped over the first 3 questions again. All of these questions are rather difficult, thought Sakura to herself. Naruto wanted to shrink inside of himself, his mind furiously thinking of ways to make a quick escape so neither Sakura nor Sasuke could kill him for failing the test. Sasuke had a thoughtful look on his face. I see. He thought to himself. I don't understand even one of these questions. Bad. Bad. Very, very bad. Naruto shouted in his head. He was past panicking and well into hysteria, as he had read through the 6th and 7th questions a second and third time, trying to decipher their meaning. What am I going to do? This system almost promotes cheating. Sakura thought to herself. I hope Sasuke-kun and Naruto don't cheat. We should be okay, Naruto isn't as stupid as people make him out to be. She thought with a small smile, wondering how Naruto was doing on his test. Naruto's knuckles were white from the grip he had on his pencil. He was gritting his teeth as he reread the 8th and 9th questions over and over again, hoping the answers would pop out at him. Stay calm. Deep breaths. You can do this. He kept repeating the same mantra over and over in his head. Perhaps. No. I can't risk getting caught. Sasuke was looking around the room at the proctors. They seem to be rather cautious. It's almost as if they're assuming we're going to cheat. He watched as a proctor marked down something on his clipboard. Someone was just caught. Getting caught was a 2-point deduction. But why only 2 points? Normally you'd be thrown out for just being suspected of cheating. That's when Sasuke remembered Marino Ibiki's words at the beginning of the exam. Flashback. Those who attempt to cheat without thinking carefully will only hurt themselves, Ibiki said. You are all trying to become chunins. If you are a ninja, you must act like a first-rate one. End flashback. I see. Thought Sasuke as he reached an epiphany. This isn't a test of knowledge. The true purpose is to evaluate each person's information-gathering skills using different methods of camouflage and concealment. See underneath the underneath, as Kakashi-sensei would always say. So he only wants us to not cheat without thinking things very carefully. To be like a first-rate ninja and not get caught. When put that way, the unusual point deduction system and the lenient 2-point deduction rule make perfect sense. So exactly what is being tested? Not being caught by the person you're cheating off of, or the examiners, while still getting the correct answers. Naruto, you can do this. Just think underneath the underneath. It will cost you if you don't. Meanwhile, Naruto was almost shaking. Shit, he mentally shouted. His hand began to shake. The only way I can do this is if I use the Jagan. Focus. Calm down. Try as he might, it was too late. His nervousness overrode everything and he couldn't concentrate enough to both use the Jagan and fill out the exam paper. Sasuke was already making his plan of attack. If this is a test of one's information gathering skills, there should be at least one person in here that already knows all of the answers. He thought as he scanned the room for his potential target. He noticed Sabaku no Gara was doing something odd with his sand, while Kiba seemed to be communicating with his puppy. Seems like that loser actually can understand his mutt. Thought Sasuke, who hadn't believed anywhere near half of Kiba's boasting in the academy, as Kiba's list of techniques had been quite small and his animalistic taijutsu was no match for the Uchiha Sekendu, intercepting fist. While Kiba had been towards the top of the class in nearly every practical exercise, Minu Shuriken and Kunai practice, he was nowhere near Sasuke's level. The one-eyed Otonin, Sasuke noticed, appeared to be concentrating. When the man didn't open his eye when he started writing, Sasuke figured he was somehow using sound to copy off of his fellow examinees around him. Looking a few seats down from him, he noticed another examinee swatting away a bug. The fly then flew to the Aburame kid, who seemed to be able to communicate with it in a similar manner as the Inuzuka and his puppy. Sasuke remembered they were teammates as well. It would be best to be cautious around them. Even with my Sharingan and Naruto's Jagan, we could have a tough time with them if they managed to catch us off guard. The Hyuga of the team wasn't as skilled as she could be and Kiba was a loudmouth. He was tough, but still a loudmouth. The Aburame, however, was nearly a complete unknown. Sasuke barely noticed the bug user in the academy and only knew a small amount of what the boy's bugs were capable of from what his uncle and brother had told him of the various clans of Konoha. Sasuke was confident he could beat the Aburame boy, but he knew after his fight with Rock Lee, it wouldn't be easy. Further study of the room revealed others' attempts at cheating. Sasuke was sure if he could see some of these attempts, the proctors could as well. It appears that even if someone is caught cheating, they aren't deducted any points as long as it's a Chunin-level attempt. Observed Sasuke. Naruto was by far faring the worst of all the examinees. 30 minutes into the test and he still had not written down a single answer. He was far too intimidated to try and cheat by normal methods, and he was far too stressed and nervous to control the Jagan effectively enough to even try to use it to cheat. He didn't know why, but he just couldn't let go of his secret. Time is running out. My only chance is to cheat. He grit his teeth. I just can't get caught, as that would cause trouble for Sasuke team and Sakura-chan. And if I fail, we all fail. Naruto-kun. He heard a soft, gentle voice whisper. He hid his shock the best he could as he slightly turned his head and cut his eyes towards the pale lavender eyes of Hyuga Hinata. She was blushing slightly. I'll show you my test. Why would she? Naruto thought, puzzled by the heiress' actions. Hinata isn't the type to try and trick people. Naruto then whispered to her, Hinata, why are you trying to help me? Hinata's blush deepened as she clenched and unclenched her fists. She was staring intently at her test, avoiding Naruto's gaze. Well, she whispered, even Naruto was barely able to hear her soft voice, She gulped, she began to sweat slightly under Naruto's careful gaze. Just don't want you to go away. Hinata gasped as Naruto looked at her questioningly and turned towards her a bit more, her blush becoming a bit more pronounced. Hinata was thinking furiously at what she should, or rather, could tell her longtime crush. You know, the 9 of us. We're the only rookies. And everything is so uncertain. Thanks, Hinata. Whispered Naruto gratefully, I'm sorry, I doubted you. Naruto gave her a small smile, to which she looked down sharply, continuing to blush. Looks like we're saved. He thought, relieved he wouldn't be the one holding back Sasuke and Sakura. Hinata subtly shifted her paper towards Naruto, who was shooting quick glances at it. Before Naruto could get a good look at the paper, however, a kunai whizzed in front of his face, grazing the tip of his nose. Hinata and Naruto looked behind them as the kunai embedded itself in the test paper of the guy sitting behind them. What is the meaning of this? He shouted, obviously freaked out as he stood. A spiky-haired proctor, who Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto all noticed looked awfully similar to the kid who was pushing around Rock Lee and attacked Sasuke earlier, smirked, you screwed up 5 times. You fail. What? He shouted. Take your teammates and get out of here, the spiky-haired proctor ordered. Now. His teammate stood up as the Chunin hopeful stood there in shock. In the seat in front of him, Naruto was wide-eyed and nearly hyperventilating. He flinched when he heard the next words. Number 23, fail. Numbers 43 and 17. Fail. Naruto then began to look around the room as others stood up and left. 2 proctors dragged out one genin who was refusing to leave, while Asuna genin stood up and furiously demanded if they had any proof he had cheated 5 times. Can you really expect us to believe you are capable of watching over this many people? He disappeared in a blur as a Konohanin elbowed him in the neck and forced him to a wall. He had bandages covering the upper part of his head and a Hittite over where his eyes would be. Listen up, we are the Chunins that were chosen to watch over you punks during this part of the exam, he said tauntingly, we are the elites, so to say. So we don't miss even a single thing you do. My strength is more than enough proof, he said confidently as he released the Sunanin, who immediately slumped to the floor, gasping for air. Naruto was paralyzed in fear. Naruto-kun. Hinata whispered to him, getting the blonde-haired genin's attention. Hurry. Look. Naruto then began to become ultra self-conscious of his surroundings. It took great effort not to flinch back, as if burned, when one of the proctors looked in his direction. Hinata. I can't. He said softly, besides, a great ninja like me doesn't need to cheat. He said with a small fake smile that, though he didn't know it, she saw straight through. But Naruto-kun. Hinata tried to reason with him. I can't let you get into trouble for helping me cheat, he said seriously. Hinata stifled a gasp as her blush deepened. Naruto-kun, she thought. She sat there staring at him for a few moments, lost in her own world when she finally remembered where they were. I'm sorry. I did something unnecessary. Naruto chuckled a bit, don't worry about it. Thanks anyway. Hinata-chan. He whispered. He then looked at his still blank test, mentally berating himself for being incredibly stupid. Had he not been so focused on himself and trying to figure out what he was going to do, he missed Hinata's reaction. Her face was completely red and it was taking insane amounts of willpower to not faint in Naruto's presence. He called me Hinata-chan, and doesn't want me to get in trouble. Stupid, 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 was the mantra that kept running through Naruto's head. Around the room, others began furiously working on their test. Sakura began breaking down and calculating each problem, while Hyuga Niji activated his Byakugan and Sasuke activated his Sharingan. I just need to copy his every movement, thought Sasuke as he intently watched his target and furiously filling out his test. My hand is moving without hesitation, he smirked, I got him right away. Several rows back from Sakura, she was being watched by her longtime rival, Yamanaka Ino. Ino smirked, it looks like Sakura is about finished. I can't help but acknowledge that the wideness of the forehead of hers and intelligence are incredible, thought Ino, you should be thankful for being my target for this technique. The blonde-haired, purple-clad Kunoichi then did a few hand seals. Shintenshin no Jutsu, mind-body switch technique. Her spirit seemed to fly out of her body and straight into Sakura's. Ino slumped onto her paper. The only one who seemed to catch the movement was quite a few seats down from Sakura. Looks like Ino used that jutsu. How troublesome. Better finish this test or Ino will become even more troublesome than my Ka-san. Choji, who also wasn't too far away, thought to himself. Just can't beat that technique of Ino's. Now I just have to wait for Shikamaru to do his thing. Sakura then confidently smirked, a look very reminiscent of Yamanaka Ino. Sakura, I've slipped myself into your mind for a while, now I just need to quickly get the answers. Figures she'd be able to answer all these questions. Number 59 fail, shouted one proctor. Numbers 33 and 9, fail, shouted another. That's the 13th team that's failed, thought Kabuto as he continued answering the questions on his test. 41, fail, shouted a proctor. Ibiki just stood in the front of the room impassively as the babysitters began failing more and more Chunin hopefuls. Numbers 35 and 62, fail. Ibiki couldn't help but be impressed by the way the Sunanin, Gaara, was handling himself. He then remembered that Hatake Kakashi had said about the kid also being a Jinchuriki like the Uzumaki kid. Taking a quick glance at the said genin, Ibiki was far from impressed. The kid looked as if he had an aneurysm. He looked as if he'd break under the strain of the pressure at any moment. He couldn't help but think Kakashi's unwavering faith in his team was a bit misplaced, but then again the Haruno girl and the Uchiha prodigy seemed to be having little problems with the test. Excuse me, said a Suna Chunin hopeful. He wore a black jumpsuit with cat ears and a good deal of face paint. I need to go to the bathroom. A proctor stood and handcuffed Kankuro, as the rules state, I'll have to accompany you to the bathroom. I suppose that makes sense, said Kankuro as he was led out of the room. Gaara merely grunted at his older brother's minor disruption. Kyuso. 40 minutes have passed, thought Naruto, intensely watching the clock. His test was still blank. 20 minutes left. I don't have a choice but to bet everything on the answer of the final question. Marino Ibiki smirked at the remaining teams. Looks like we've dropped all of the incompetent ones. I will now give you the final question. Naruto gripped tightly onto his pencil. 2 can do this. All or nothing. Took long enough, thought Sasuke. Sakura looked smug, knowing that she could easily answer this as she did the others. Finally. Elsewhere, a blonde Sunanin was wondering where her other brother was. Kankuro, you'd best hurry back. If he gives us the 10th question, you'll be unable to help us out. Before I do, however, there's one thing I must tell you, said Ibiki in a low voice, the tension mounting as he hit them with small amounts of killing intent. It was affecting them all more than it should as they were completely focused on him. There is a special added condition to the final question. The door in the back of the room opened and the Sunanin who had gone to the bathroom and the proctor he had left with had returned, just barely in time. You're lucky, Ibiki said to Kankuro, your puppet show didn't have to go to waste. Kankuro inwardly cringed, while Ibiki just smirked. He knows about Karasu, he thought to himself. Well, sit down, Ibiki told the Sunanin. As he passed by his blonde teammate and sister, he dropped a small object next to her test, which she immediately, but subtly, covered with her hand. I shall now explain. This is a hopeless rule. Ibiki began to explain. Many of the prospective Chunin looked confused. With our subordinates gone, it sure is quite boring, said one Hatake Kakashi in a lazy tone. I'm sure we'll be busy soon enough, said Sarutobi Asuma, Jonin instructor of Team 10, the Inoshikacho group. Much to the distaste of the third member of their little get-together, he was smoking a cigarette. He wore a simple Jonin outfit, much like Kakashi's, except without the mask. Oh, why do you say that? Asked Kakashi with a lazy drawl. The first examiner for this year's Chunin exam is Marino Ibiki, said Asuma with a small smile on his face. Kakashi's eye widened momentarily with recognition of the name. So, it appears that the first exam will be a tad bit difficult this year. He wondered how his students were doing at the moment. So they had to pick that sadist, eh? Sadist? Asked a beautiful woman with ruby-colored eyes and a dress that looked like she was wrapped in bandages. She had a single red sleeve covering her right arm and both hands were wrapped in bandages. She was Yuhi Kurinai, Jonin instructor of Team 8, the reconnaissance team. She had the Hyuga, Inuzuka, and the Aburame under her tutelage. Kurinai, you're still a rookie Jonin, so it's understandable you don't know, said Asuma. Who is he? Asked Kurinai. A pro, Kakashi answered. A pro? A pro? A pro of what? She asked, already dreading the answer. Asuma sucked on the cancer stick and let out a puff of smoke. He's a Tokubetsu Jonin, whose specialization is torture and interrogation. What? Asked a shocked Kurinai. Although he won't be physically torturing them in the exam, I can guarantee the kids are feeling a large degree of mental stress from his interrogation tactics, Asuma informed her. He is the ANBU's torture and interrogation squad leader. I can just imagine what they're going through, he said with a small smile. Don't underestimate those kids. They're a lot stronger than you think, said Kakashi, though he didn't outwardly show it. Not even his one visible eye gave any indication. From the tone of his voice, one could tell he was smirking. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Naruto that pulled them all through this first test. The Kyubi kid? Asked Asuma. Both he and Kurinai flinched at the look Kakashi had given the smoker. He was the dead last at the academy, certainly he couldn't have improved so much in so little time, asked Kurinai. I'll admit, academically, he's still scraping the bottom of the barrel, however, he always performs best under heavy amounts of pressure and when he's being underestimated. I'm sure Ibiki is giving him both in heavy doses, explained Kakashi. Naruto's guts, combined with Sasuke's inherent skill, and Sakura's intelligence make them a very formidable team. I have very little doubt my team will make it all the way to the final exam. A hopeless rule? Naruto mentally asked himself. First, you are all going to choose whether or not you wish to take the final question, Ibiki told them. This announcement shocked everyone in the room. Choose whether or not to take the final question. Sasuke asked himself. The blonde Sunanin gasped. Choose. So what happens if we choose not to take the 10th question? Simple, said Ibiki, still smirking confidently. Your test points will be reduced to 0 and you fail, along with your fellow teammates. What's the meaning of that? Asked a random genin. Of course, we'll take it, shouted another. Teammates also failing is bull, complained a third. And here is another rule, said Ibiki as he closed his eyes. The shouting genin all became silent. What? Another rule? What gives? Sakura asked herself. If you choose to take the final question and you get it wrong, said Ibiki, you will forever lose the privilege of ever taking the Chunin selection exam again. What kind of crap rule is that? Shouted the familiar voice of Inuzuka Kiba. There are people in here that have taken the exams before. Akamaru barked as if to emphasize what Kiba was saying. Ibiki seemed amused by Kiba's outburst and started chuckling. You're unlucky this year. Because this year is my first year as the exam proctor and I make the rules. That's why I'm giving you all one last chance to back out now. Those who are not confident can choose not to take the question and take the next Chunin exam, or the one after that. Ibiki started laughing. Sakura, on the other hand, was quite panicked. So if one person decides not to take it, all three fail. If someone chooses to take the question and answer incorrectly, that person will never rise above genin. Either way, it's not good. Naruto tensed in his seat, while Hinata gave him a worried look. The fear on his face was enough to make her lose confidence in herself, as she knew more than anyone how Naruto never gave up, no matter how much the odds were against him. Let us begin, said Ibiki. Those who will not be taking the 10th question, raise your hands. After we confirm your numbers, you will be free to go. What kind of question is it? If I get it wrong, I'll be stuck as a genin forever. I don't want that. But if I don't take it, Sasuke and Sakura-chan will fail with me, and I can't let that happen. Naruto thought to himself. I'm not raising my hand, I'm confident enough that I can get the problem right, Sakura thought to herself. But, Naruto, please, raise your hand. We can help you the next time. Suddenly, the tense atmosphere was broken, the Takinin sitting next to Naruto. He had decided to not take the next question. This set off a whole chain of people who decided not to continue on. One by one, people started to get up. The proctor called out the numbers of their teammates, and they left in groups of 3. Naruto began to become more depressed. Naruto, Sakura thought, why aren't you raising your hand? She watched him, shaking. She thought back to his reasons for staying in the exam. Flashback. I'm the elite ninja who will receive the title of Hokage one day. Naruto said with enthusiasm, the name is Uzumaki Naruto. Remember it. Flashback. Shut up. I am prepared to go through anything to become Hokage. Naruto yelled in defiance. Flashback. With a certain fire in his eyes he shouted, I'm going to become greater than all of the Hokages. I'm going to make the villagers acknowledge my existence. Flashback. Naruto stared back at the grave a moment longer, before speaking again. Alright. I'm going to follow my own nindo. I'm going to run straight down the path where I am not going to regret anything. Flashback. Just like I was to be seen as a hero? Naruto asked bitterly, like anyone really followed that request. Flashback. Tell me, Sakura-chan. How would you like it if the man you looked up to more than anyone else, the one you respected above all others, was responsible for nearly every horrible thing that has ever happened to you? Asked Naruto angrily, that even after all of that, you come to find out he was your own father. Flashback. Naruto's father was also my sensei. Kazama Erasure, the Yandere Hokage. Kakashi informed them. Flashback. Let me go, I'm gonna kick his ass, yelled Konohamaru. Let me Go! I can't let him get away with making fun of the boss. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at the small boy's behavior, while Sakura looked shocked at the sheer amount of protectiveness and devotion he had for Naruto, while Haku merely smiled at the boy. Haku squatted down to Konohamaru's level and smiled. I assure you, Konohamaru-san, we do not wish Naruto-sama any ill will. He's just down from some things he found out today and we wish to cheer him up. Do you know where we can find him? Konohamaru calmed down visibly, enough that Udon and Moegi let go of their leader. He still glared at Sasuke suspiciously. Turning back to Haku, I believe you, but if you hurt Nichan, I will kick your ass. His glare was mostly directed at Sasuke when he said this. Flashback. Konohamaru was about to protest, but Naruto quickly cut him off. I promise, Konohamaru. I vow on my dream to be Hokage and our friendship, I will tell you eventually, just not right now. Flashback. Worry not, Kakashi, he bears no grudge against you, said Sandaime. Still, I think it's time to find Naruto and show him that you're still his friends. While you may not be the closest of groups, he has found a measure of acceptance with each of you and he fears losing that more than anything. End flashback. He's always going on about becoming Hokage like an idiot. Always shouting about gaining acceptance from everyone. Wanting to be respected. So he wouldn't be so alone, thought Sakura sadly. Flashback. The solitude. Sasuke interrupted her. What? Sakura asked, genuinely confused. The pain. You can't even compare it to the level where your parents get mad at you. He scolded her. You're annoying. Flashback end. I'm sorry, Naruto, I won't let you give up your dream. Not for us. Not for me. Sakura sadly thought, with a determined look on her face. I'll help you achieve your dream. I won't let you throw it away. Sakura hesitantly began to raise her hand when she suddenly saw something she'd thought she'd never ever see. Uzumaki Naruto, hopeful future Hokage of Konoha, was giving up. She watched in shock as Naruto's hand was shakily raised in the air. Naruto. Hinata and Sasuke were both equally shocked. Hinata found her whole world crumbling. Naruto never gave up, he kept on trying long after others would have. He was brave and strong, everything she wasn't. Despite the cruel glares given to him by the villagers, he always pushed on with that fake smile on his face, never once giving up on his dream of becoming Hokage. If he couldn't do it, if he didn't have the confidence, who was she to think she could carry on when Naruto was so much stronger than herself? Nah. Naruto-kun. She thought sadly. Sasuke was certain he was seeing things. As much as he'd hate to admit it, Naruto easily had the potential to become his equal with the use of his Kekkei Genkai. He remembered what Sakura said about the power she felt in Wave Country, the old man, Tazuna even felt it. In terms of raw power, Naruto could easily top everyone in the room, all he had to do was refine his skills and learn to control that power. He felt betrayed. He kept everyone at arm's length. Knowing that in the end all that mattered was your own strength, that family was a weakness that would only serve to hold you back. A luxury, a comfort he could not afford while Itachi was still alive. Without Naruto, how would he be able to gauge his own strength, his own power? Kyuso. Sasuke mentally cursed. Just as I thought. Just Kakashi overestimating his team's confidence and abilities. Thought Ibiki dismally. Ibiki, he understands human psychology, said Asuma, taking a drag from his cancer stick. The scariest part about him is that he can drive a person into a corner mentally, control his mind, and bully him. He can find a person's weakness and bring it to the surface. Naruto's hand balled up into a fist. Only Ibiki briefly saw the brief flash of the Jagan underneath the headband, as the other proctors were looking for his number and the numbers of his teammates. He involuntarily stepped back, but managed to hold in a surprised gasp. Naruto brought his fist down and slammed it into the desk, making nearly the whole room jump and look at him in surprise. "Screw you. I'm not going to run away," he shouted with an angry expression on his face. "I'll take this problem. Even if I'm stuck as a genin forever, I'll still become Hokage. I'm not scared," he shouted as he stood up angrily facing down Marino Ibiki. "Believe it." Sasuke smirked. "He definitely has spirit. You just don't know when to quit, do you, Naruto baka?" Sakura thought with a small smile on her face. Ibiki wasn't sure to be proud of the kid or bash him over the head. All of those who were about to leave were no longer even considering it. He's turned the whole room around with that outburst of his. Just like his old man. He forced a scowl on his face. "I will ask just once more. This is the choice that will impact your life. If you want to quit now, now is your chance." He sent another wave of killing intent at the room, still subtle, but greater than the others he had sent out previously. He and Naruto had continued their staring contest. Naruto smirking the entire time. "I'm not going to take back my words. That's my nindo." Ibiki scanned the room. The entire room was generating an aura of complete confidence, all centered around Uzumaki. He looked at the Jinchuriki's teammates. The Haruno girl was smiling, and the Uchiha prodigy was smirking. The Hyuga girl next to the vessel was looking at him with approval and awe. The Nara boy was also smirking in the corner, and Guy's student Rock Lee had an uncharacteristic cocky grin on his face as well. Even the Yamanaka girl was looking at the vessel in interest. The only person who didn't seem affected at all was the impassive Sunanin, the other Jinchuriki of the group. Even the other proctors looked pleased. "Interesting kid," thought Ibiki. He's risen all of their confidence levels. Wiped out all uncertainty. 78 students. 26 teams. Far more than expected. Doesn't look like I should wait any longer. Each of the proctors gave their signal. "Well then. Since you all seem so determined. Everyone here passes," he finished with a grin. He watched as each of the examinees registered his words. One by one he saw the looks of shock, disbelief, and even anger. Mentally, he counted down in his head, 3, 2, 1. "Wait. What's that supposed to mean?" shouted the pink-haired Haruno girl. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.